Hi, welcome to Agriscaping Podcast. This is Justin Roner coming at you live, but you might be listening to me from the recording, which is what most people do. And that's kind of the cool thing about doing these podcasts is that you can pick it up anytime, anywhere. I mean, it's inspiration in your pocket coming from us good old gardeners and gurus and whatnot out there and bringing you new ways to grow your own health in an elegant, edible way. So I've got with me a wonderful guest. I'm just getting to know her myself, and so I'm excited to share this conversation with all of you to kind of learn who she is and tell you a little bit more about her. Her name's Kelly Roberts, and she's a healthy living advocate, and she's out there in South Bethany Beach, Delaware. Is that where you're at?
I am. Yep, that's where the studio is.
That's where the studio is, and she's got a lot of things going for her. I'm really excited to talk to her about her beach Pilates and wellness, as well as her farm Foodie Fitness, which is of great interest to me. And so tell us a little bit more about what you're up to in that neck of the United States.
So we have a full Pilates studio, or a wellness studio also. So we do everything from Pilates and yoga to nutrition counseling. I'm a certified raw chef, so I do a lot of cooking classes and a lot of private cooking classes. So people hire me to go into their house so they don't have to cook, or if they want a cooking class in front of to learn how to make, dinner and healthier foods. And then I'm a master gardener. I have an edible school garden where I teach elementary kids how to do everything from start the seeds to take them out to the garden and take care of it to harvest, and then a lot of the time if we have time before school gets out or in the fall when they come back to go harvest their own food, and then they learn how to make another recipe with that it's more healthy, and so they can understand that they can go from seed and then to plate and be able to enjoy it the whole process.
That's perfect. I mean, we like to tell our kids and stuff, it's like it's from farm to table in 5 steps. And they always ask, well, what are the 5 steps? What do we do? What is the first one? I said, well, you take your left foot and then your right foot and then your left foot, and you get to your 5th step and you should be at your food. And that's how close we want food to come, yeah. So it's just, farm to table in 5 steps. And so we love this. I love this concept, especially teaching the kids, because they start reconnecting to food rather than disconnecting with food.
True, especially these days.
So tell us more about these nutrition programs that you offer. I mean, how you're helping people grow their own health, but obviously once they've grown it, they need to now do something else with it. So tell us more about this health coaching stuff you're doing with people and kind of the adults that are helping the kids. I mean, what are you doing out there?
Okay. The nutrition programs, I have everything from where a detox where they can take it away by themselves and do their 5-day detox, and I just give them the guidelines and I'm there for the support. And then I have everything from like full one-on-one nutrition programming. I think people have a hard time these days because there's so much marketing out there and stuff is confusing in the grocery stores. They think they're eating well, but they're really not when it comes down to it. And I get the full side from the Pilates side where people aren't losing weight or they have a lot of chronic illness and disease and they want their lifestyle to change, and they don't understand that what they're consuming is really affecting them. And like I said, they think that they're eating well, and then you break it down and they're like, they don't realize that they're consuming that much sugar, or they don't realize that, processed food is really that bad for them, or, they have this stigma that healthy food is supposed to taste bad. So I get a lot when it comes to that, of people just wanting the education to understand, that fat-free in the grocery store doesn't mean it's healthy. And then, with the little kids, it's from teaching them to understand that, you just don't go to the grocery store and your food shows up. And a lot of them think that, you just go to the grocery store and you can get whatever you want, which is the case, but they don't realize that there's this whole process of growing. You can't get bananas in Maryland because we can't grow banana trees, that it's coming from another country and it's being shipped over here. And you shouldn't be eating tomatoes in December. We live in the mid-Atlantic. It's cold here. You can't grow a tomato plant. They don't understand that, you shouldn't be eating tomatoes in December. They're not going to taste that good. But in July, you're going to get the best tomato you can possibly eat if you grow it in your backyard and you just walk outside. It's still warm and you get to take a big juicy bite out of it. So it's cool to see people changing and understanding that they can take grasp of their health, whatever side of it is. So if you're an adult and you're realizing for the first time that the grocery store really isn't your best friend unless you understand what you're really consuming, to little kids understanding that your vegetables are supposed to have dirt on them, that they just don't, they aren't just clean, and that's that's the exciting part, is that it's different with every person, so every day makes it a little bit different. And, you know, kids are always so excited just to get their hands dirty, and that's the best part for me, is just to have them be a part of the full gamut of understanding that you can go out and put a seed in the ground and it grows, and then eventually you get a vegetable or a fruit off of it and you get to eat it, and they think it's the coolest thing. So
I remember talking to a little kid while we were working in his garden. It was kind of a new garden we were developing with their family. And we pull out a carrot, and he's looking at that carrot, and he looks back at me, and he looks at the carrot, and he sees all the dirt's kind of still holding on to the little root hairs and stuff. And I was like, you know, we probably ought to go wash this off. And he goes, yeah. And then he goes and he washes it off, and he says, but my mom washes them when they're already clean. And I sat there and I go, you know, that's true. It's like most people, they get them back from the grocery store. And there was even a label on a melon I purchased earlier today to take to a TV spot. And on the melon, it said, wash before cutting. And I go, really? Interesting.
right.
And you start looking into the reasons why. Why do we have to keep washing produce when it's already clean? It doesn't have dirt on it. Now we have to wash it. We're being told to wash them. And it's because of all the pesticides and things they put on them in order to travel well, because the average distance that fresh food is traveling right now is over 1,500 miles in the United States city. So it's that's the average, and it continues to increase in the distance that food is traveling. And I asked the little kids and stuff, or people that we talk to, it's like, well, how fresh do you feel after you travel even 500 miles? And they're like,
Right.
And it's like, so how fresh do you think this food's going to be? You know, I mean, think of how far it had to travel. I mean, what does your mom always tell you when you're traveling in the car? You know, put it back in the cooler, right? And and so there's this huge misconception of what healthy food is, even the fresh stuff, right?
Yeah, you're right. I think, and it's hard to know where it's been and how it's been handled too. The other side of you always just want to wash it too. These days, I feel like there's so many bugs out there. You're kind of like, oh my gosh, what am I getting? So I think that a lot of that is in the recalls too, of, you know, maybe it's not inside the melon, but what's been on the outside. And then, you know, I've had people say, did you wash it first? Because when you cut, you know, you're cutting it open and the knife is touching the outside, then you're penetrating the fruit or whatever, and then it's getting on the inside. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I guess you're right. I never really thought of it that way, but that's true. So
yes. And that's the kind of crazy things. I mean, listeria outbreaks with melons, and you know, we got salmonella poisoning and stuff like that. You know, somebody just died this week from listeria, I believe. You know, eating some food,
oh, really?
you know, eating fresh food. So it's these little things are happening all the time. They don't. I started reading into those stories too, but you find that these people that typically die from these infections that they're getting from fresh foods have a list of other health problems that they often don't divulge. They don't communicate in these fear farm studies, I guess you could say. And
true. Yeah, they usually have a weakened immune system or something. Right?
Exactly. They've got some major issues. Oh, well, forget the fact that, you know, this person was also an alcoholic and his liver was shot and he hadn't done a detox. I mean, that's one of the first times I realized my health was really connected to my food is when my allergies just got incredibly out of control, and to the point that my eyes would scale up and get all scabby. It was just a bad time, and could barely see much. You know, have allergic reactions to just about everything, and a very stressful time in my life. Not just because of what was going on the outside, but what was going on the inside as well. And it's like, from that point on, I had to realize that everything I put in my body affected it. And when I started shifting my diet and started looking at the things that really helped my internal system work better and take care of myself a little better, be more consciously eating of food, then everything shifted around. And now I'm in a point where basically even my allergies that I'd have since I was a kid seem to be gone. And I don't really experience the same things that I did. And it's from a shift. You know, kind of like what it sounds like you're doing, helping coach people. It's like, oh, there's a healthier you inside of you, but it's covered up by all the stuff that you're eating and the way you live, the way you process life, you know, and the grocery store, I guess you could say. It's like you can be taught how to handle a grocery store.
Right. But I think it's overwhelming for people, too. When you walk in there, there's just so much out there. And then, like I said, the marketing gets confusing. That's like one of the big things with people with me. They, you know, like they think fat-free, low-calorie, all that stuff is good for you. Anything that's in a box just because it says gluten-free doesn't mean it's, it's healthy. So I think a lot of that marketing's kind of gotten people even more confused about food. So I try to teach them to, I know everybody knows these days you kind of stay to the outside as much as possible, so you're getting all the fresher foods that are going to go bad quicker, and you avoid the middle aisles as much as possible, but, not everybody can. So if you need pasta, then you're buying the pasta from the middle of the row, of, those middle rows, but you want to put mostly fresh vegetables and fruit and, eggs and fish and meat is, that's healthier, not packaged in a container. So.
Yeah, the fresher the better.
Right.
It's got more life in it. Each of those cells starts to deteriorate, over time. Once the plant is pulled from its place, or once the animal is then killed, it's like those cells break down. That's what happens. It's just like for us. And unless you're wanting to just grow a lot more toenails and fingernails, maybe you ought to, got to relook at it. Right? So it's so I love these things that you've got going on. I love looking at the site for all those listening. FarmFoodieFitness.com. If you check that out, there's a lot of great places that you can go on there. You can see her new DVD that she's got there, and nutrition programs, a 5-day detox, a 7-day jumpstart for your health, and some personalized women's health package. And so if you're in the area or want to visit and vacation to a cooler part of the country other than Arizona this time of year, great place to go check out. And it sounds like, when's the best months to be visiting you in your area?
Anywhere between like May and December usually is the best. If you really want the best September, October, November, the tourists are gone by that point, and you got the best fall weather where the beaches are a little bit more quiet, and you can kind of enjoy it, and you can get to a restaurant without having to wait 3 hours like you do in the summertime. But summer is the best too, because you get to enjoy the beach when it's warm. So you get the best of both worlds. So usually, May to December is the best time until it starts to get cold again.
Now, something I've always loved about the East Coast beaches is they feel a little more real. They're not so manicured. They don't have like manufactured sands or shipped in sands. They don't have a lot of that, but it's just always felt more natural and real to be on an East Coast beach. Is that your experience as well?
That's true. That's totally true. Yeah, it's pretty, as we would say, I guess, organic. Like it's pretty pure. Yeah.
It's like they're not shipping
right
in a bunch of desert
Delaware
sand.
line, so.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Right.
It's like our West Coast beaches. It's always it's that desert sand they ship in by your truckloads and just keep loading the beaches, so there's more places to make your little fires and stuff out there. But it's a different type of sand.
Cool.
It's a very coarse.
Different kind of sand.
Yeah, it's a square, granular sand rather than more of a round, pebbled kind of sand, like what I've experienced in the East Coast.
That's true. Yeah, you guys are kind of more. I like more stones, I think.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about these programs that you've got with I just mentioned a couple of them, and I'm just looking on your website right now, just kind of checking things out on here. On the 5-day detox, what do you have any client experiences that you might be willing to share? Just kind of what kind of transformations happen for people in even just 5 days?
I think in 5 days that your body starts to purge what you are usually consuming. So I think it's 5 days is hard for a lot of people. I know a lot of things out there are 30 days, and that's almost not going to happen for most people, because you have to have some serious willpower to get through 30 days of giving up, dairy, sugar, caffeine, alcohol. Meat is usually one of the things to give up. I keep it on that detox. It's more lean meat, so they're allowed to eat chicken and fish on mine. But so I think within 5 days, your body starts to detox off of a lot of the stuff, so you can see the difference when they start to add it back in. So I've had a lot of people that keep going. It's usually the wine or the beer that they miss the most after about a week, so they start to bring that back in. But a lot of people use it just to see, just like you said, with like if they have allergies or they have chronic pain or a lot of inflammation, just cutting out, the gluten, the sugar, the dairy, anything artificial or anything that's been processed, to cut back on red meat, to get rid of the alcohol. Your body starts to make changes right away, and then when you start to incorporate it back, you can usually see how you feel on it, and then you can have a better understanding of how your actual body is reacting to what you're consuming. So I feel like everybody has a different body makeup. So sometimes what they call, I guess they're calling them elimination diets these days, is when you're cutting everything out and then you're putting something back in, you can kind of realize what is reacting to your system because you've kind of purged it. So everybody has different, I've seen people drop, 5 pounds in a week because they've cut out, it's usually the sugar that gets everybody, that they don't realize how much sugar they're consuming. And they've said they've gone through like full withdrawal just, from sugar. Sometimes it's like a drug, so people say they come off like they're having a withdrawal from drugs. But then they don't want to put it back in to their body because they don't want to have to get that addictive feeling again that they need sugar all the time. So like I said, I've seen people say that their joints don't hurt anymore after 5 days. They've lost weight. They feel better. They're sleeping better. They're waking up with energy. Their allergies have gotten better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty much each person kind of has a different experience from it, I think. And like I said, I feel like everybody's body makeup is different. So what might work for you is going to work totally different for me. So, some people can eat gluten, and then I'm pretty much as gluten-free as possible if I'm out at a restaurant and it's really nice and I want the bread, then I eat it, but I don't eat it on a daily basis. So it's kind of like the moderation, the 80-20 rule or the 90-10 rule that they say is 80-90% of the time you eat the best you can, and then the 20 or the 10 to 20% of the time, then you indulge in what you want and not feel guilty about it. So I don't feel like life should be about deprivation, but to understanding what works for your body and what your lifestyle is and what you feel makes you function as a human on a daily basis the best way you can.
Yeah. It's like food is fuel, and I never put sugar in my gas tank of my car. That would kill the car. That would kill the car. Totally kill the car. So you start questioning whether, what things we're putting in our body, is it the right fuel for us? And a lot of times, because of how we ease into our routines of eating, as often happens, or as the busier we get, it seems like I find myself in more fast food lines and with more packaged breakfasts, that I got to just jump in the car and I got to have something to keep me going. And it just kind of starts evolving, and then you don't realize that you've gotten so far away from your healthiest way of eating that you don't realize that you're unhealthy until something triggers.
Right, you're right.
And
it's usually a sickness or something comes up that an illness or something, is where people usually get that wake-up call. It's like they have to make the change because they don't have a choice anymore.
Yeah, and
sadly, that's how it happens.
And that's it's like wisdom or experience. It's like those are two ways to learn. Either you learn from the wisdom of others that are telling you, you need to change, or your own experience, which means something's going to blow up and you're going to have to fix it. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was for me. I kept getting worse and worse in terms of my eating habits, and then that was during a time in a year. It was in 2013. We ended up burying 6 people in my immediate family or in a neighborhood that were close to us that, just the stress of just dealing with all that transition of life and relooking at everybody's lives and what they went through, it took me over the edge, but that's what I needed to help me get back to my garden and just start eating from that again and not have to run so far away to find it.
That's good. That's perfect. That's a perfect example.
But I tell people what you probably find yourself doing too is just like, please just learn from wisdom, learn from others. You don't have to go through the pain. You can
right.
Just, figure it out now.
Right. And give yourself a chance to actually heal. I think that just changing, just a little steps, a little bit of changes make the biggest steps of the body. So, you don't have to go all out and change and drop everything. Just little tiny changes. You can see the little differences as it starts to build, and then you have these bigger results. So
that reminds me of What About Bob? Do you remember that movie?
Yes. I think I was little though, but yeah, I remember.
Elevator, and I love the total role reversal in that movie, because what ends up happening is that the one that was the insane guy ends up becoming the only sane person in the whole movie by the end, because he's the only one still taking the baby steps, still taking the advice and keeping on that track. And so his life ends up mellowing out, where the others that are, it's like, they get into the routines of stress and end up building a whole new world that's just as crazy as his was prior, or worse.
Right.
And health, yep, seems to work the same way. It's like just the routines, those routines that we do, and we don't even realize we're in them, I think, until someone else outside of us kind of points them out.
Right. That's true too.
So I love what it says here on your 5-day detox. It says, finally, a detox program you don't have to be afraid of or drink a bunch of nasty tasting smoothies all day long for weeks on end. With this, you can eat real delicious whole foods for only 5 days and detox your way to being healthy again. I love it.
True. That's totally true. Yep.
And I love that you
There are
pointed
some
out.
smoothies in it, but it's not like you have to drink smoothies all day long. So
Right.
you're still getting a couple of smoothies, but
It's not the lemonade diet, or something like that. I mean, there were so
no.
many funny diets. It's like when I was West Coast, it's like there was always somebody on a different diet, and they loved to pronounce it as if it was their new religion, and it was always interesting. It's always interesting.
There's always some gimmick out there, and everybody always wants a pill to take real quick to fix it. Instead of you kind of have to put the time and energy into it, and it's not easy. I mean, being healthy is time consuming, and it takes a lot of prep sometimes, and thinking ahead, and not kind of going on a flying by the seat of your pants. But that's how everybody lives today. So sometimes it's hard for people. I totally get it. I mean, I understand running around like a crazy person and trying to figure out what's for dinner. So I get it. But sometimes you just have to slow down and put yourself first, because if you don't have your health, then you have nothing. You can't take care of anybody else if you can't take care of yourself. So.
Well, and I love that you focus on that.
I firmly believe that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I just was saying, I firmly believe that what you put in is what you get out. So if you're going to drive through the Golden Arches 3 times a day, that's how you're going to feel. So,
feel like Golden Arches. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to say the word.
Yeah. I'm going to feel like Golden Arches and everything. Right. Well, one thing I also noticed is I was starting to get a little healthier. It's like I started waking up and I started realizing just the average health of the people in the restaurants that I would visit. I just kind of started looking around. And I started just kind of listening to the coughing, like just listen to the amount of allergies and just people coughing, sneezing, stuff like that. And you'll find that in the healthiest restaurants, you find the least amount of that.
Right.
And I started going, you know what? This is a good idea, to try to just gravitate towards the place where health resides and in the routines where health exists. It's not rocket science, really.
It's not. It's a matter of time consuming, and then I think that's where people feel they kind of tend to shy away from it or don't want to do it because it is time consuming, and like I said, you have to prep and prepare yourself and then put yourself in a different situation. It's hard to give up, French fries. I get it.
Yeah, I get it too.
You just have to do it every once in a while instead of every day or every week. You just do it twice a month and enjoy it and not feel bad about it. So.
Well, and I love that your approach, it sounds very personalized, which I think is exactly perfect. It's like people are always looking for a one-size-fits-all scenario, but the reality of our own health is that our body chemistries all react differently. And, and when you do the detox, it's kind of like, it's like you said, when you start reintroducing their regular life and they start trying to bring those things back, their response to, whether it's a helpful thing or a terrible thing for them, it's quick. It's like they'll notice. Like, oh,
I don't feel so hot now. Yeah, I just ate that, right?
I mean, I grew up on a dairy farm, and so even the concept of being lactose intolerant was just like, yeah, whatever. I've been growing up around. But that was one of the things that when I started bringing that back in, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This feels weird. I feel like itchy inside after drinking some milk or having some cereal with some milk on it after detoxing for a little bit. I was like, wait a minute. And at first I felt like I was a wimp. I'm just wimping out. It's like, Justin, you're just wimping out here. Toughen up, man. This is cereal. And I literally felt like a wuss. I'm like, oh, this is not a good feeling. And I'm like, oh, so there's this ego in me that says, no, I'm going to tough this out, dude. I'm going to just eat this. I don't care how many, how bad my eyes are itching or I'm going to eat through the cereal because I grew up on a dairy farm. And I've had that battle inside my head many times. But what I started to realize is like, it was a waking up. I just kind of, okay. And so I tried lactose, lactate type milks that had the lactose enzymes in it and stuff. And I realized, hey, that actually worked for me. And I was like, that actually worked for me. But it doesn't work for everybody. And, I tried almond milks, but I ended up finding out I'm allergic to the almonds. And, I'm like, okay, that's not cool.
No.
So,
right.
But it was my own experience. I had to rediscover what was the best fuel for me, but I couldn't do it without first doing a detox. It's like my body was too inflamed. It was like it was hurting all the time, and I didn't realize it. And but then once the detox, the kind of the internal inflammation, it seemed to die back a little bit. Then I responded faster, which made me feel like a wimp. But it also woke me up to the fact that it was never good for me. And then as I started eating better stuff, but it was all kind of being dictated by that reintroduction and saying, hey, that's really not good for me. And then let me go back to this other stuff. And hey, it actually starts tasting better. And that was the other weird thing I noticed after detox is like the things I thought were the healthy things that tasted terrible actually started tasting good. I started noticing subtle flavors in, radishes that I didn't notice before. It's like, oh, wait a minute, there's something else here.
You got your taste buds back?
Yeah, I got my taste buds back. And that's what the naturopathic doctor told me. He's like, well, you're getting your taste buds back. I'm like, oh, well, where did they go?
Yeah, I think they kind of neutralize when you put all that junk on top of them, that they don't have the sense that they can possibly have when you eat better. I've heard that before too. People saying like, I didn't really like the taste of, what is usually some green, like I didn't like the taste of Swiss chard, or I don't like the taste of arugula. And now that I'm eating better, that I actually like the taste of this stuff now. So it's kind of cool to hear that your body's actually like waking up and realizing that what it's missing and telling you it likes what you're eating now. So that's cool. That's cool, definitely.
Well, and I think, I don't know if this is true, and maybe you know more than I do on this, but that there's certain things that people like to eat. It's like, it's a good indicator that they might be on a poor health track, is ones that use a lot of pepper or spicy sauces on their foods.
Right, because they can't taste anything.
Yeah, they can't taste it, so they're just throwing that on there. But it's kind of, see, I'm fine as long as I put a lot of spicy stuff. I eat spicy food, man. I sweat it all out. I don't need this detox. I can sweat it out by just eating a bunch of stuff. And then so I can just eat a bunch of hot stuff, man. Give me some habaneros. And then they do that, and it does. There's a detoxification effect, right, with spicy stuff.
Yeah, it actually boosts your metabolism too when you eat spicy.
Well, there we go. So they're cheating. Is that what they're doing? I mean, is that what's happening? I mean, I've done it myself, so I'm really just I'm speaking. I'm catching myself my own fault. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of people that smoke cigarettes for a long time, and then they stop smoking, and they get their taste buds back where they weren't able to taste things, and they would put, like you said, peppers and spicy as much as possible because they couldn't taste it, and then when they stop smoking, your taste buds come back. So. And it's probably the same thing when you're eating heavy fat foods and not so good for you, and a lot of sugar that you almost deaden the taste bud. And then once you detox and allow your body, there's like this perfect quote that says, if given the chance, the body will heal itself. So I think just even that 5 days is enough to, I mean, it's not totally enough, but it's enough to give you enough sense to understand that you've gotten rid of a lot of the junk and stuff that you're consuming that's not good for you, and then just putting it back in, you can kind of realize, or eating different foods when you've gotten through that detox, that you can taste things different. You might like something that you didn't like before. I have a lot, like I said, I have a lot of people that do that all the time. Like, I don't like, green vegetables, and then they detox and they're like, oh, I eat broccoli, now I love it. So,
well, that's interesting.
I definitely believe that.
So Kelly. Yeah, I grew up with dairy farmer grandpa, and we'd go and eat at Burger King every single day at 10 o'clock, and we'd have our RC colas, and I remember those things burning when I drank them first, and thinking I just needed to tough it out and be cool. And you're teaching kids a little bit different routine. So tell us a little bit more about the routine that you're teaching the kids, because obviously it's different than part of what I grew up with.
Well, I grew up totally opposite of you. So my mother was in the fitness industry, and my dad was a chef. So, we had a garden growing up, and then I wasn't allowed to go to the Golden Arches very often, maybe for a birthday party, but not very often. And I wasn't allowed to have soda, and I wasn't allowed to have sugar cereal. So I guess I was lucky on one side of being able to grow up and not have it, because then there was never really a desire to want it later on in life. They let me have it, like I said, in moderation. It was like a treat. We got ice cream, when we went to the boardwalk, or, there was a birthday party. We just didn't have it all the time. Mm-hmm. And now I have 3 little kids, and know that, if you're healthy, then you can be the best you can be, whether it's in school or you play sports or, whatever, if you want to play the guitar. If you're healthy, then you can do everything you want to do. You have a full chance at life. And so that's how I try to teach mine. I mean, they're allowed to have it. My kids have never been to McDonald's. People think I'm crazy. They've never been to any fast food except for Chick-fil-A. So people make fun of me all the time on that one. But I just feel like you don't really need it. It doesn't give you, they don't have the desire to go there. They don't ask to go there. So I just don't give them that opportunity to go there, which probably sounds like I'm the worst mother of the year. But they do get stuff. So, my daughter is turning 8 tomorrow, so she's having birthday cake. I mean, it's her birthday. She's supposed to have, be a kid and have fun. They do get ice cream. They just don't get it very often. So they don't, they would rather eat a bowl of strawberries than actually have the ice cream.
Wow.
For the berries. So I guess it's just been ingrained into my, my lifestyle of growing up. When I don't eat well, which is, I'll eat pizza and stuff like that. And sometimes, like, if I eat 2 pieces of pizza, I don't feel very good. So it's just, my body makeup now just doesn't desire or require me to eat that bad. And when I do, I don't feel good. So I just don't do it. If I want, like I said, if I want the ice cream, then I go get it and I enjoy it. But it's not always something that I'm reaching out for. So I just feel like trying to teach the kids that if they don't have, healthy food does taste good. You just have to find a way to either make it taste good, or you have to eat the things that, if you are craving sugar, you can eat strawberries and blueberries and kick that sugar craving. You don't have to go eat a Snickers bar. So I'm trying to teach the little ones that they can eat better, and it doesn't have to taste bad, and they can be a part of it and understand where their food comes from and put their hands in the dirt and actually learn the whole system and how it works of, putting your hands in the dirt and planting the seed. You actually get a result out of it. And then they can go cook. And my kids love to cook. They get super excited just for me to let them sit there and chop stuff up. They feel like they're a part of something, and then they see an end result that they were a part of. So that's the stuff that gets me most excited, especially when I have these elementary kids I do from pre-K 3 to 3rd grade. So they're like, 9 and 10 years old. And they get so excited just to be able to pull the carrot out of the ground. And we might just do, hummus and carrots, or we go make some kind of yogurt salad dressing or dip that they can put into it, and they love it. Or they're making their own salad, or they're out there, picking butternut squash and able to cut it open and take the seeds out and dry the seeds out and reuse them the next year. So that's the stuff that I see the most benefit from, where I'm putting my time to give it back to them, just because they get so excited. Kids are always the best anyways. They get excited over the stuff that, an adult would be like, I'm not putting my hands in the dirt. I'm not going to pull that carrot. You pull it. So I definitely feel like when I spend time with the kids, like, just going through pictures when they're, in kindergarten or pre-K 4, and when they're 3 and 4 years old, and showing them a picture of a tomato, and they're so excited to tell you that it's actually a tomato. So I've gone to schools where kids don't know what a tomato is. They have, like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, are you serious? It's crazy to me that they don't know what a tomato, or, if something's different in color, like, these days there's purple potatoes and there's purple green beans, and, they get so confused. I'm like, there's actually a purple, green bean? That's the coolest thing. So just having kids, get so excited about that stuff.
Yeah, I think
is
kids,
what I feel like I get the most back from.
Yeah, kids seem to learn. They learn so quick, and I think they learn so quick because they're still so curious. It's like they're curious, especially around food. It's like they're just it's everything's an adventure with food. It's like, well, what's this taste like? And what's that taste like? They're eating dirt. They'll pick anything up when they're really little kids and stuff. And a wise man once shared with me a little thing. He made me aware of something that happens just as we become adults. And he says it's very apparent in the transition from a kindergartner to a room full of 30-year-olds. He said, I go in a room of kindergartners and I say, how many of you are artists? And the whole room raises their hands. And he's like, and they're like, see, there's proof on the fridge. There it is. I'm an artist. And then he'll be in a room full of 30-plus-year-olds or 40-year-olds, 40-plus-year-olds, and he says, how many of you are artists? He'll ask the same question, and there's like nobody would dare even admit that they are an artist. And it's embarrassing to be that adventurous and to be so creative in your life. You got to be careful. All of a sudden now, it's like my life is at stake. Whereas a kid, it's like, oh no, we're on this adventure of learning what life is, learning what's good, and learning, whatever. We're just curious. But I love that curiosity. We just have to build that back in. I think things that you're up to. You're getting me curious as I'm looking through these pictures. Pictures get people curious. That's why I think Facebook is doing so good. It's and Pinterest
and Instagram. Yeah, I think people want to be a part of what you have to offer. Yeah.
We're getting people curious again. I know we're getting close to the end of our time available. So with all that, what can we get curious about? with you that will help us out in the next little while on how to grow our own health?
I have a blog. I lately been having a hard time trying to get any writing done, but they can always follow my blog. It's Farm Foodie and Fitness. So just like the website, you're just adding an and in the middle of it. And then I am just doing my best to put myself out there for, people. I do stuff online too where people can call, and I have, health clients that live across the country, and I do personal nutrition counseling with them. But they could be in Washington State, and I'm in Maryland or Delaware, and I can do a full nutrition counseling that way. So, the way the world works these days with internet, and email, and phone calls, and social media, there's so much more out there to be able to reach to people on a broader spectrum. So they don't have to always be localized. I just feel like if they are coming my way, you can do everything from a beach class to having a raw food demonstration at the studio. So there's ability to offer on the local spectrum and then on the global spectrum also. It's just a matter of what somebody is looking for. So like I said, if you want, if you have a kid and they're close and they want to do edible school garden in the local area, if you want to come take a beach class and you're in the Delaware Beach area or the Maryland Beach area, if you live in New York and DC and you're coming this way, I'm always available for that. And then, like I said, if someone's in California or Washington State or in the Midwest and, in Missouri, if you wanted a health coach to be there one-on-one, there's always a way to FaceTime and Skype and me be your coach. So
yeah, I love that. Technology today,
either way.
Yep, technology today makes education available everywhere, but I definitely recommend that everyone get their food from someplace much closer. It's like
closer.
Make sure your food is
local as possible.
5 steps. Right. That's my ideal distance. Five steps, not 1,500 miles. 5 steps. Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, 5th step. You're there, right?
You're right. And the cool part about my area is that the beaches are here, and then when you go 10 miles inland, it's all farmland. So we have like the best of both worlds. So tons of farmers markets, tons of farms. I live in a huge chicken farm area, but so you can get your local eggs from someone down the street that has chickens in their backyard, and then you can drive 5 minutes over the bridge, and then you're got your feet in the sand with the ocean roaring beside you. So it's kind of a cool area for where I live. So it's a lot of locally community supported farm area, and then you have the touristy beach side of it. So it's pretty cool.
Well, that's awesome. And if you need that, farmfoodiefitness.com is where I want you guys to go that are listening on there. And there is a link to her blog right there on the upper right-hand corner. So I love that. That's a great portal for pretty much everything you got going. And to get to know Kelly and to learn more from her and be inspired. And hopefully you can go and inspire others for all you out there. And we love growing our fitness, growing our food, and growing our health here with Agriscaping.com. And we're excited that everybody could join us. Thanks again, Kelly, for joining us today. And
Thanks, Justin, for having me.
You're so welcome. We look forward to having you back again, maybe at another time. But we'll keep growing health in the meantime.
Sounds great. Thank you.
See you, everybody.